Thank you for listening to Jesus Goggles. We are trying to see the world in the lenses of Jesus. In this week's episode, we discuss our relationship with our parents. We present this episode in a fun exchange between two friends based on a hypothetical situation.
Hey.
Good to see you. How's it going?
Not that great, actually.
What's going on?
Well, I had a fight with my parents the other day.
Not a really good time, especially when exams are coming up.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I do need some advice on how to go about the situation, though.
Okay, let's hear it.
Well, it's kind of what I want to do for the future. I mean, my parents have been pushing me to, seek stable jobs, like the typical doctor, lawyer, engineer kind of thing. But, I'm not really good at math, and I kind of don't have an interest in those areas. So I told them, there's probably no chance of me going after those jobs. And I told them, hey, if you keep on pushing me to get those jobs, then I'll just become a YouTuber or something.
Interesting. Is YouTuber something you said just on a whim?
Sort of, but also not really, because I've been really thinking about going more in terms of content creating job, because I don't want to stay at home, right? And I want to explore the world. So I thought making photos or taking photos and videos would be a good way to do that, and I actually like doing them. So, and also, even my photography teacher tells me that I have a pretty good taste when I'm, making these content stuff.
Okay. Well, I do know that your parents are pretty traditional, and most likely that's why they want you to live in stability rather than relying on the gig economy.
Yeah, I know how volatile the job market is, but, I still want to do what I want to do. I don't really care if I don't make big bucks or own a big house or a nice car. I just want to do what I want to do and stay comfy.
Okay. I mean, if you already have an idea that is pretty set, what's the dilemma here?
The real dilemma is I don't know how to persuade my parents. I would appreciate a little advice if you know how to do it.
All right. Remember what I told you last week? Whenever we have a difficult situation, our focus should not be on what our parents say or what we say.
Right. I remember it this time. We have to seek answers from God, right?
Yeah. Are there any passages in the Bible that similarly matches your situation?
Ever since last time, I've been trying to read more Bible and more closely, knowing that God would have an answer prepared for me. I've also been praying a lot more too. So, but all those things that after I prayed and read Bible, it was pushing me to the idea about obedience.
Yeah? Are there verses that kind of stood out to you?
Yeah, just give me a sec. I have to, it's written down on my phone. I think it says, 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 14. As obedient children, do not be conformed to the passions of your former ignorance.
All right. What do you think it means?
I honestly think the passion refers to what my parents are wanting from me, and they're demanding me something that doesn't fit me, and I consider it a bit foolish. If I'm not going to be happy on doing what they tell me to do, why do it at all?
Fair point. But what about the beginning of the verse? Obedient children.
Well, doesn't that count my parents as well because they're children of God?
Well, man, when God speaks to you, you have to apply the verses to yourself directly, not to others.
Okay, so then you're saying that I have to obey my parents' wishes?
Yes and no. What's our priority here?
What I want?
Well, don't forget, it's about us knowing what God wants.
Right.
Well, in that case, I think you are missing the point about you being the obedient child. As you read in this Bible verse, I want you to think about what obedient child means to you.
Well, if it's not about me obeying my parents, are you talking about me obeying God?
On point. We easily forget what God has to say in these types of conversation. We first have to obey God first before anything. Yes, we have to obey our parents too, but God takes priority.
What if God and my parents say two different things, though?
Well, that's a tough case, right? And that does happen time to time. It's hard to say, but who should have the ultimate say in our lives? God or our parents?
I'm assuming God.
Yes. I'm not saying disobey your parents because that also is not something God wants. There are many verses in the Bible about honoring our parents. For example, in Exodus chapter 20, verse 12, it says, "Honor your father and mother, that your days may be long in the land that the Lord your God is giving you."
So how should I both honor God and my parents at the same time then?
First, we have to ask God what he wants in this situation. Our parents know and have experienced things that we do not know, and God often speaks through them to us. Without listening to our parents' wisdom, we might make unfortunate mistakes. If our parents are wrong, we would have to ask God how to persuade them. And that does happen. But it would require careful words and wisdom. Let me throw in another thought. There may be a case where you and your parents are both wrong. When you're not completely set with your objectives, God could be taking some time to set you into a path both you and your parents have just never considered.
I don't think I ever thought about it that far. I mean, I don't really have a concrete plan either. And I realize there's a lot more things I have to consider, actually.
Yeah, it would be good to consider if you're able to pray and wait. I think it would be best if you could wait until God answers. But sometimes there are situations where you would have to make quick decisions. What would you do if that were to happen to you?
Well, in my case, I feel that I would have to fight my parents even more due to circumstances.
God says he will let us know what he would do. Unless God said something specifically to you, you can continue what you have been doing and wait. God will tell you what he has been planning for you, and as you go about your days, or sometimes, he would pick a time to lead you to a different path.
What if I do end up finding something I like and believe that is what God gave me to do?
In that situation, I would make sure it is something God gave you. Something I do often is confirming by comparing prayer answers. So for example, have your parents and close friends pray about the same thing. Of course, you would have to pray too. And see if everyone receives the same answer. Then you would know that the thought you had wasn't just yours.
Definitely could get more accurate answers that way, but technically, you could continue to get different answers, no?
Possibly. So continuously pray so that everyone would receive the same answer, hopefully quickly. Making a hasty move could lead to a point of no return, and that's not something you want.
Man, that's actually a little bit complex. I mean, even if there are things that I desired, it would be completely out of my grasp. I guess that's why you have to pray and make sure things align with God's will then, right?
Yeah, of course. What do you think God wants from you?
So, well, we have been talking about obedience, so I guess obedience would be the answer?
I think so. Our parents and our plans, they're not perfect, but God's plans, they're always perfect. So our first step is acknowledging that God has something planned for us, and we need to ask God where he would like to lead us.
Maybe I talked about YouTube idea a little bit too hastily. I don't think I even considered what God would think about what I said.
It happens. We just have to make sure we ask God first before we make a solid decision. Otherwise, we or our parents would take control over our lives. But we need to surrender that control over to God.
All right, but I really would like to become a YouTuber someday, though. What if God doesn't really want me to do that then?
Well, who knows? Perhaps God actually wants you to be a YouTuber and spread the gospel using your influence. In that case, your parents might be wrong to say no to YouTuber.
I mean, I really hope that's the case then.
But I do need to let you know that we need to be in good terms with our parents. I know we, as a younger generation, don't always agree with the way our parents handle things. But as I mentioned before, God wants us to honor our parents too.
Please continue. I'm listening.
Parents are also human beings. They also make mistakes. But they are still our parents. No matter how wrong they are, God wants us to honor them. And why? Oftentimes, the way we treat our parents align with the way we treat God. If we can't respect our parents who are physically present with us, how will we respect God who we just can't see?
Oof, that hurts, man.
Well, I'm guilty of it too, so don't worry too much. But what I want to say is, despite the disagreements, we need to learn how to get along with them. We will become parents one day, and you probably wouldn't like it if your kid disobeys you.
Yeah, man. I would ground them pretty harshly.
We have to be thankful for all they have done for us. We often take it for granted because they always give. In a way, God always gives us, and we take it for granted as well. So we have to learn how to respect our parents, even in the time of difficulty. Then we also should be able to thank God in the times of difficulty as well.
I mean, that's kind of hard though. Like, I just can't stand them sometimes. Like, they say no to everything I do want to do.
I think it takes time to persuade them, and perhaps God is asking for more of your prayer.
Yeah, I don't think I never really asked God to persuade my parents to hear me out. Oh, I do think that I need to add that on my prayer as well.
Yeah. And pray so that they will listen to you well. I'm sure they want you to be well in the end, just like God always does. And don't forget to pray so you can listen to your parents as well. It will never hurt to have your parents on your side.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, I always do need their help, even if I end up choosing something else to do, right?
Yeah. Family support and prayer, they really help.
Dang. I think I'm challenged. I'll just go to my parents and start talking to them. Kind of feel bad for throwing up a tantrum.
Sure. I will see you next time.
Alright. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening. We will be back next week with an episode on our relationship with social media. Jesus Goggles is a podcast sponsored by God and Us Community, a 501c3 nonprofit Christian mission organization serving the youth and young adults.